Portugal.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. How are you this morning? Do let us know. How was your weekend? If you could let us know in the chat, that would be awesome. And if you've got any pictures, just as Philomena and Bob so far have sent pictures of their weekend, do so on 913-590-303. My weekend featured a lovely mug of beer. And I've got a redwood tree to share with you. James will explain that in just a moment. A couple of baby storks. Oh, some lovely imagery to share with you this morning. And the mindful memory of a Monday with James in just a moment. And Tig James joining us, she who helps out the post-Brexit Brits. She's going to be talking to us. I've heard of ETIAS, but I'm not sure what EES is. She will be telling us about that when she joins us at around 9:30 this morning. And joining us briefly around that 9:30 mark is Gary Austin as well. Because tonight, as you may have seen on the opening meme, we're meeting the maker, which I now say, when I say it out loud, doesn't sound like a great invitation for a show, does it? Meeting the maker, the wine maker. Mark Stolz joins us. And I'll be drinking his wine. I've got some here. Here's some he made earlier. Look at this. A bottle of his wine. It was sent over to me. We'll be trying that tonight on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club this evening. Gary will tell us a little bit more about that somewhat later on in the show this morning. So let's play his intro music and bring him on. He can do his memes himself in the new format. Let's play James's relaxing intro music and talk to him on this Monday of mindfulness after this.
Muito bem, obrigado, fantástico.
Eu gosto muito your lovely little chuckles on a Monday morning there, James. Yeah, that's the one.
Obrigado.
Bon dia.
My latest phrase is diverte-te.
Oh, what's that? Have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun.
I used to say it a lot in English. Now I figured out how to say it in Portuguese.
Oh, that's lovely. Diverte-te. Até próxima, diverte-te. Good. Excellent. Maybe we can have a spelling of that in the chat so others can use it. What's this? Good morning, Portugal. It's the entry-exit system. Well, that's going to be the practical use. Stop it. Okay, well, thank you for decoding. It's acronyms all the way from around 9:30 with Tig this morning. What you been up to then, James? Let's make sure we include your mindful memery and mindful dad jokes and silly dad jokes and that sort of thing. But what you been up to? How's your weekend?
Weekend. Okay, that's the previous 2 days. All right.
2 days, just a bit before us here.
Yeah, it's basically kind of a normal weekend. I almost chuckle every weekend because I think something different based on what we have scheduled to do. Well, typically on a Sunday, we go do the grocery shopping, which I've shared before is a 6-hour stint. It's not like you run off to the shop and come back in 20 minutes or even an hour. You hit every store and spend at least a half hour in each store, and then you run some errands besides. So I've gotten used to that, and it's just like, okay, so Sunday, that's what we do. And we went out on Thursday and did most of that on Thursday, which we do occasionally. And Louisa said, so we won't go out on Sunday. We'll just have lunch on Sunday. I said, okay, thank you. That's great. So I was planning on just chilling till lunchtime on Sunday. And she said, oh, Sidonio needs to go to Vorten to pick up one thing. And she said, I have some coupons, so I'm going to. Do you want to go? And I said, oh, just Wharton. Okay. It's probably be an hour and a half. That'd be fun.
I've got a feeling it might have taken a little bit longer than that.
Yeah. So 4 or 5 hours later, we were back home for lunch. So
quick trip to the shops in Portugal, 4 hours.
Yes, exactly. It was a shorter trip. It was 4 hours, but then we put 2 hours of lunch on there, and it gets back up to 6 hours on a Sunday.
Yeah, nice.
So it's really no different. It's just I thought it was going to be different, and it wasn't in terms of time.
Yeah.
So just interesting little things. And the observation for me, I think, I was going to say one of the reasons I bring it up. That wasn't why I brought it up, but one of the things I notice is that this is a place where my mindfulness gets used a lot. Is in making an adjustment to what I think is about to happen. And I think that's probably true for most of us. But if I have a tendency to get attached to things, it's to get attached to what I think is supposed to happen based on what I've been told. So when it changes, it takes me a while to change gears usually. And sometimes in the past, that used to upset me. I would get angry about it. This is not what we said we're going to do. I didn't commit to this time. It would be that sort of feeling energetically, internally. I wouldn't express it outwardly. So part of my practice of mindfulness is like, I don't enjoy that state. I don't want to be in that state. I don't want people that I care about to be around me if I'm in that state. So what can I do about it? What do I change? And mostly it was like learning to be aware that this is going on. Okay, here's that agitation you're so familiar with. That's the notice. What do I choose? Well, I choose to do something other than that. That is not the way I want to be. So what do you choose? I choose to be in a calm, joyful, kind, forgiving, accepting state. All right, how do you get there? So, well, I guess I just need to let go of that expectation I had and go with the flow and understand that the only thing that's changing, in this case, the only thing that's changing is the specific places we were going. There's still 6 hours with Sidonio and Louisa, like every other Sunday. And I'm getting much, much faster with it. That's almost instantaneous now.
Very good.
It used to take me 30 minutes to work myself out of it. And now it's like, that's right. Stop it, you idiot!
You're not
that
the
energy.
Dog, by the way. I hate being hijacked by people on a trip out. So Pam's the same, and it takes me back to my a thing that I love to talk about. It's like a parlor game almost, and it's the 3 upsets. There are only 3 ways humans get upset, and they are an unexpressed communication, a thwarted intention, and an unfulfilled expectation. And yours sounds like the unfulfilled expectation. All upsets fit into that. And it's a game where I'll happily play this morning. If you know of any other upset, I'd be glad to hear it. But those are the 3 base. That's the holy trinity of upsets.
Well, and I might even reduce it to 2, because I think the thwarted intention is actually an expectation.
True. Yeah.
You had an expectation to do something and you couldn't. So there was
what? That is probably the mother of all upsets, isn't it? Is expectation, really. Is life not going your way?
Yeah, and I think it's wired into our DNA. It's definitely a function of survival. If you can't anticipate or expect things to occur, then you can't prepare for dying. Like you have to just oops, I died. It's like, well, maybe there's a wild animal out there. I need to pay attention to it, that kind of thing. So I think it's hardwired, which is why humans are so attached to expectations. We anticipate. That's not quite as strong as an expectation, but
right. Yes. What does this mean for my survival? And talking of meeting the maker,
I'm not ready for that.
Okay. All right. Sorry. But it sounds great that you're getting so good at the reframe, almost like you've retrained yourself with this process.
Well, yeah. Hence the practice.
Yeah.
Every time it comes up, when I notice. So the process is you don't notice, you don't notice, you don't notice, you don't notice, and you just keep doing the same thing.
Yep.
And then you say, I'm not enjoying this. Well, what do I need to do? Well, I need to notice it and then change it. Okay, so then you go on, I don't notice, and I don't notice, and I don't notice, and then I'm in it. I'm like, oh, I notice it now. There it is. It's like, okay, so what do you want to do about it? Too late. Stop it, you idiot.
I've got it.
It's a perfect frame for the energy of it. And it's a good reminder for me. I just don't feel that way hardly ever anymore. So,
Wow.
But it's a practice. It takes a long time to change especially our mental habits, to change our thoughts, to change how we approach things, because we're making a conscious choice about it. So the key there is conscious. We have to be aware. And that's the value of mindfulness. It's awareness, self-awareness.
Yes.
Mindful.
And how about those feelings of irritation being our guide, ironically, beautifully, toward more happiness in life? These are the areas I'm going into now, which, I mean, so many of us might have taken for granted for a whole life long of life, just sucks sometimes, and suck it up when it sucks. However, you might take those moments as a little prompt to, I'm not enjoying this, and it's fine. It's okay to enjoy more and more of my life on this blessed earth and enjoy this blessed existence.
I will choose to remember that this moment that sucks will pass.
Yeah.
This moment will pass.
This
As too will the happy moment. Every moment is going to pass. Everything, every emotion, every thought, every feeling, every word, it will pass. So that's a part of letting go. It's accepting, which is a part of accepting what is, as opposed to being attached to it being different than it is, which causes suffering. So it's like there's wisdom to the phrase, it is what it is, though that one gets to be so trite, it almost makes, there's that want to punch him in the nose thing when it comes up. It is what it is. Oh, shut up. Stop it, you idiot. Right. Exactly. It's like, okay, I can let go of that too. I can let go of that too. But the truth is, things are what they are in the moment. And all of them will pass. And that's the key. That's what helps me when I breathe and say, what are you grateful for? One of the things I can be grateful for is this will pass. This sucky moment is not going to last forever.
Yes.
But it feels like it is taking forever. Well, yes, it feels that way. It feels that way. Yes. That's not the truth. Yes. That's a feeling.
Yes.
And people get those confused.
What?
Feelings and truth. Yes.
I have been writing about this.
They also get opinions and truth mixed up. They're not the same thing.
Opinions, I have a few, and I have been writing about my opinions of Americans for the Portugal residents. I should say only that on this matter, and it will be published later on this week. But that's when I put virtual pen to paper this week. That's what it was about. So if you want to hear my opinions, not facts, about Americans. Well, there are some facts in there, as in how I record my experience of interactions with Americans.
Well, opinions can be based on facts, but they're still opinions.
Right.
It doesn't mean in what you think is the truth. It's just what you think about the facts you've been faced with. So,
and you know what?
Maybe you're very accurate with those opinions, but it's still an opinion.
We shall see. And you're in trouble when in your article you say, some of my best friends are Americans. So I'm looking forward to the reception for that. Right, it's a beautiful day in Lisbon. We're enjoying Milen's company, aren't we?
Yes.
New face, new name at Winsurance, now 20 degrees. I believe that's Milen this morning, who's getting into the spirit of your mindful moment. So let's have one of those after we've had see if we want to do this one today, shall we? It's optional. Bon dia, Compass. Hope you all
always a choice. Always a choice.
Coach Turner's not going to shout at you. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. That's not his style. Taking our little blue car to have some bodywork fixed after a van backed into a very annoying coffee first, though. Have a great day. You too, Coach Turner. This too shall pass. The knock on the blue car. Well said. God Squad tip of the day. if I could only do one kind of exercise, it would be walking. So I thought I'd explore how to make the most of it in terms of overall health and how to mix it up. And that's what probably most of us, that's our main form of exercise, isn't it? A gentle wander. Oh, this is sounding good, isn't it? We
I
can
love
do this.
that, a gentle wander.
It can be really
I feel
enjoyable.
like I do that all the time.
I think you do.
In my
Mentally
mind, anyway.
Yeah. Does it count, coach, if it's in his mind? It can be really enjoyable. And it's certainly better for you than sitting on the sofa. What? Time on your feet is a great start to a healthier lifestyle, but you can do so much more. Try walking at a pace that makes you breathe a little heavier and raises your heart rate. 30 minutes a day doing that will make a massive difference to your fitness, and you'll feel much better. Lovely.
And I can add, I have read that, because people think, oh, I have to walk really hard and I hate all that work, and so I'm not going to do it. But the most effective way to walk, as I understand it, the most efficient way is to walk at a pace where you can continue a conversation.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you're breathing more heavily, but you can continue talking without trouble. So if you're going, it's like you're walking too hard. It's just, you don't have to do that. You can get just as much benefit from walking more slowly, but as Ian says, raising your heart rate. So,
and hilarious when people see you around Ericeira on your own talking like that.
Yes, as my mind wanders with my body. A gentle wander. We're wandering together.
Oh, it's that American guy again. Hey, he's all right, really. Bless. All right. Bon dia Gumpers from you then on the screen. And did you not change your name this week? Slug is back, bigger and
I
back.
didn't get to that, no.
Did you not? Okay, but you did get to this. Okay, go on.
The mindful moment. The meaning of life is just to be alive.
What?
It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves.
Yes. Alan Watts, who I discovered recently, died an alcoholic at the age of 58. Now, I'm not going to hold that against him. I was a bit disappointed. I've been listening to a lot of Alan Watts in the last few months. His voice is fabulous, isn't it? And yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. He talks almost like Cary Grant, doesn't he? And he's fantastic. And I was sorry to hear of his troublesome end to his life. Which
well, I would put him at more or less a philosopher.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to categorize.
Yeah.
And just because we know things doesn't mean we do them.
And sometimes they can be literally the death of us, can't they? I mean, knowing something, yes, curiosity.
I know it, and I'm not doing it, and I hate it, and I've had enough, or I need to escape it, or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
and I can still speak beautifully to other people about it.
And full of wisdom. I mean, just because you don't do it doesn't mean it's not wise.
Which he continues to do to this day on YouTube and on podcasts. What a lad, what a lad. Okay, and your dad joke this morning then? What? What?
Now, I always struggle when I see things in American English, like pants. It's like now I'm trying to figure out which word to use in English. You know, it's enough I'm trying to figure out what's the word in Portuguese. Anyway, this is an American English mindful dad joke.
You know you're in trouble when it needs that much of an explanation.
That's right. I wanted to get my pants hemmed quickly, so I called Taylor Swift.
That's the sound of tumbleweed, everybody. But thank you
or cricket, maybe.
I've got that.
Yes.
No, that's a duck. No. Oh dear, they're here somewhere. Anyway, thank you very much. I didn't realize you were a Swiftie, but that was a nice Swiftie-based joke there. And I always think of when it comes to Americans and their pants, love it. And I will never stop reminding Joel Denort about the time he went into a tailor, a men's outfitters in York. You'll love this, Tig. Tig's getting ready behind the scenes. So is Garvo. You've got 10 minutes yet to finish your breakfast, Tig. And John walks into a gentleman's outfitters in York, the kind where they say, "Oh, suits you, sir." And he walks in and says, "Could I see your pants?" He doesn't talk exactly like this, but just to make the point for
American, your version of American English.
Like Cary Grant again. May I see your pants? to the man in the shop in York.
Why? That's a bit too familiar, sir.
Yes, how dare you, sir? Leave my retail outlet immediately. Okay, there you go.
We could at least go to the changing room for that.
Yes. Oh, after work, sir. After work. Right. Life is short. Come on then, James. What you got? How does this one end?
Okay, I have to see the punchline though.
You can't remember.
No, life is short. Make sure you spend as much time as possible on the internet arguing with strangers.
Oh yes, excellent. Tig
I'd say
knows
that's sarcasm.
about this. Not that she does it, but she has a temptation arising from time to time, I suspect, in the work she finds herself involved with. And there you go. I like this one.
Two goldfish are in a tank. One says to the other, "Do you know how to drive this thing?"
Okay. Brilliant. All right. Before we go to Garvo, then, he's live in the Gas Bar. Bottles of wine aplenty behind him. He's going to be talking about what we're doing at 8 o'clock this evening. Do you have a mindful conclusion this morning?
Well, not specifically. I had a couple things I've been meaning to do for a while, but partially with the new format and just the structure of how we do things, we don't always get to them.
No, we never did, though, to be fair.
That's true. So the one thing I've learned about Portuguese language has just sort of gone by the wayside because we sort of run out of time. That's one thing. I also wanted to share this photograph I sent you of the redwood. So I think that might be appropriate for the time. Yeah, and it's really going to require all the other stuff to be off to even begin to get the scope of the size of this tree.
Okay, let me get rid of that comment then. All right, that is a big redwood. It looks like a little bonsai.
Can you take the banner off the bottom too? Right. It continues on. There it is.
Diva this morning. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so that little tiny dot in the snow at the bottom is a full-grown man.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you look very carefully toward the very top of the tree, you'll see a little red dot. That's another man.
Well, they've had some fun, haven't they?
And the whole thing is, this is the first time that particular tree has ever been presented in one photo, it's sort of like straight on, because it is so tall.
It's taken from space.
And I do this because, you know, people from California, especially the west coast of California, they're like pretty familiar. It's like, oh yeah, redwood trees. I've seen those. They're big.
Whatever.
But to give you an idea, this is not one of the biggest redwoods there is. This is just a very big redwood. And it's not full grown. It's still growing at a cubic meter per year. So, you know, and that's going to be at the top. So it's probably, I don't know, at least a couple feet a year.
My goodness.
Or an inch a month, basically. It's not the oldest tree on the planet, but it is 3,200 years old.
How old?
3,200 years.
That's older than some of the Gumpers here. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just beat it out by a little bit.
That is extraordinary. And is climbing a redwood in the snow an unsafe thing to do? I suspect it is, but I guess.
Well, I got this from a magazine article online, and it showed they were on climbing ropes and going level by level by level, taking photos of the tree, or I don't know exactly how the process went. So this is not even a fully mature redwood. This is still growing. It's a young adult, basically.
Young adult.
And it is 75 meters tall, which is 247 feet.
Yep.
And when I think I've seen when I was in Santa Cruz, because one of the things that happened really unfortunately on the west coast of North America is those redwoods, most of those old growth redwoods got cut down for lumber and for fuel for fires to make lime out of limestone for concrete and cement. And so almost every redwood, fortunately, it's a very hardy tree and it will grow back, it will recover. And it requires that environment because it's so tall, it needs to get watered from the fog and the clouds up at the top. And that's why it drops its lower branches, because it can't carry that much water to the top from the roots. So Anyway, it's a pretty miraculous tree. And one of the things, one of the campgrounds, they had a giant sequoia like that had been cut, and they took a slice of it and just put it up on edge so you could see all the rings. But then they demarcated the rings in terms of the years.
Yes.
They said this is when Jesus was on the planet. This is when Columbus discovered the United States. And I didn't really get it. I found it historically fascinating, but I didn't really understand that this is a life. This is the life of a tree that experienced the energy of its environment through all of those things for over 3,000 years. And within about 30 minutes, it was cut down and sent off to be milled someplace to be, useful as wood. And I understand that redwood's a great wood for construction, especially homes, because it's rot resistant, it's fire resistant, it's a really great wood for building. Unfortunately, we virtually decimated the old growth trees. Trees like that one are much less common than they used to be. And everything we see now, then we go, ooh, those redwoods are huge. They're like teenagers. They're like babies. They're not even, they're only 100 or 200 years old. If they're going to live to 3,200 years, they got a lot of life ahead. So hopefully we've learned to leave them more or less alone. They found that what was it? They tried this idea that if you only cut down certain plots of trees and then let them grow, then you won't destroy the forest. But it never returns to the same, because you've changed the entire ecosystem of the redwoods when you cut them down like that.
We are learning more and more, aren't we? I think about this, and I suspect Garvo might have something. Here's a man who loves trees. Let's bring him in on this conversation. Nice big round of applause for the Garvo. How about that? Have you seen the redwoods in their native environment, Garvo? Good morning to you.
No, I've never been lucky enough to see them in that. I've seen redwoods, but not in their native environment. But I have a question. I mean, you touched on it there, the upper branches and the water. I mean, when you're that far up, that must take some effort to get a moisture up that far. And how is it like when you cut a branch off and it doesn't go off like a fire hydrant? Because there's got to be a lot of pressure to get water somewhere up like that. You've got a pretty good pump. So how does that work? Surely it just can't be.
Well, as I understand it, first of all, the root system is huge and pretty miraculous in itself. At one point in history, every single redwood from Canada down to sort of the central part of California and maybe a little farther south was connected through its roots network. Every single tree was connected by the root system. I don't know that still is true, but they don't drop deep roots. They spread out very, very wide, and then they intertwine with each other, which is what helps prevent getting pushed over by the wind, because they actually support each other and they feed each other and they water each other. Like it's this whole network that's going on in this life that we call a tree.
There, everybody listening, there's a lesson there, isn't there? They
absolutely
support each other.
And that doesn't even include all the fungus that's underneath the surface. It's like this amazing communication system that's going on. At any rate, the reason the lower branches drop off is that's about as high as the roots can get the water up the tree. So if the leaves have evolved, the little, they're evergreens, but the green foliage on the branches have been designed. There's a couple different kinds, and one of them is specifically designed to be a sponge, to absorb the moisture out of the air, which is why they need to be coastal. They need the fog, they need the low clouds, and they need the rain that a coastal environment will provide. And for some reason, it's the only place on the planet where they get exactly what they need to thrive and become a forest. Yes. So you're not going to find giant sequoias in Iowa or Spain or anywhere else on the planet unless they've been imported. There's one that I'm aware of that was imported to Portugal.
And here it is. This is in the Barsaco Palace, central Portugal, in between Coimbra and Aveiro. and we don't get a sense of scale.
Well, you do. You get a sense of scale based on the man that's standing there. But I look at that and go, oh, that's just a youngster. That's that's the equivalent of a 7-year-old in humans. It's like it's a child.
That won't be growing to the fullness of its potential.
Probably not. So it may get taller. They're measuring these trees in cubic meters, right? So they say it's the biggest tree, not because it's the tallest, but it has the most volume. Because at the base they get huge and then they grow up. Anyway, they're pretty amazing trees.
Do you think that guy in that photo is looking up? He had one of those little parachutists that he used to have as a kid.
And it's stuck in the tree.
Yeah, it got stuck in the brain.
He wants his kite back.
Oh.
Yeah.
My kite.
Oh, well, thank you for that ode to the redwood. That's fantastic. And just thinking how many banana slugs could live in that thing. Garvo has joined.
No, they don't live in it. They live on the forest floor. They scavenge on the floor. And
come on. There's got to be a book in this, James. There's got to be a kind of Jonathan Livingston Seagull book where one of the banana slugs goes to the top of the tree. And all the
Banana the slug.
That's right. No, you'll never get up there. No one's ever got up there before. And he's like, yeah, my name's James and I'm going to the top. Anyway, that's not why you're called. This is why Garvo's here. Tig will be with you in just a minute. We're meeting the maker tonight, and I realise how terrible that sounds, Gary. In this instance, the maker of the wine, Mark Stoles, our friend in Portugal, bought the land, grew the grapes, and now made the wine, which I have in front of me thanks to you. You have one as well, and we're tasting it tonight.
Love the label.
Why should yes, it's black label, white label, black label. Why should people join us tonight for some of this, Garvo?
Well, to have a bit of fun, like we always do, learn a little about Portugal and its wines, its food, its culture, because we always do, don't they? It's not just about wine.
No, it's comprehensive, holistic, absolutely.
Make friends and communicate, and just have a nice little hour or so together. Yeah. It's not pretentious, it's not posh. I mean, we've fought against that label for many, many years.
We have.
And it is just a good place to be. So I would like everybody who is watching to come and join us. Grab a bottle of something young and red, because that's what we're doing tonight. Join us.
You should have seen
consent, however.
You should have seen Tig's look off screen there. Let's. You can stick around for a little bit longer, Garvo, because there might be.
I'd like to see the look on Tig's face, actually.
Yes. Okay, let's do it now. And you might like to grab something young and red tonight. Here she is. Hola,
bon dia.
Bon dia. Do you want me to do the look again? I'll do the look again for you if you want.
Gary, say it. There it is. There. Hold on. Gary, could you just say it again?
Grab something young and red.
Very good. I'll be using that as a clip. Right, Tig, how are you this morning?
Well, thanks for that. Thank you, Carl. Set me up again, haven't you? Yeah.
Yes. How's it going? You're going to tell us about EES and ETIAS.
I am. Yeah, and a few other things, actually. I've sort of sat here and thought, oh, my goodness, that's probably the more important, actually, as in time-wise, is, of course, a general election in the UK.
What?
We're all UK nationals.
Kept that quiet, didn't they?
Right. But of course, it's only just been recently that Brits, if they've been in Portugal for longer than 15 years or outside the UK for 15 years, longer than that, then they couldn't vote. They couldn't vote in any election, the referendum or whatever. But we've had those rights restored. So now we can vote in the general election. But also, there's two ways of doing that. Well, three. If you want to go.
Yes, fly over.
You can do it. Yeah, you can do it by post, or you can do it by proxy. And what we say is, if you're not going to do it by proxy, because by the time they issue the actual postal thing to get to you to come back.
Oh. There's some electoral interference going on there.
Russians have interfered again.
I want you to know.
Yes.
I can complete that one.
That is really awkward and spooky. Tig, you okay there?
What was that? What was that?
You froze. It was as though there was some electoral interference as you spoke about the options there. Yeah. Proxy, can we decode that? That means when you get someone else to do it for you, right?
Yes, they don't have to live in your electoral area. They don't have to do that, but they have to vote in your old area where you used to live. It's usually your last address in the UK. It totally depends on which council office, the electoral office that you contact in the UK, as to how much they want you to prove it. Now, for me, all I had to do was, and you go on gov.uk and it's all on there about voting.
Okay.
All I had to do was email them. And I just went, I used to live at this such and such address. They went, okay.
Really?
Other people are being asked old utility addresses. Now, when you've been here 30 years, who's got an old electric bill from your address in the UK? You know?
Yeah,
so it's a bit
there will
naughty.
be somebody who does have that in a binder, but most people don't. I take your point. Most people do not have that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got, so what we would say is please, please, please do it by proxy and do it immediately, because the election is the 4th of July. It just won't make it. It just won't make it. And even the electoral officers are saying to people that are abroad, you know, look, you don't do it by post. You can if you want, but you won't count. So yeah,
all right,
so
good to know.
that's that.
If you want to get a vote in the UK election, get on with that now, as Tig directs you to do so. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and please tell your proxy you're doing it. Apparently, they've had people.
Right.
I was supposed to vote for you?
Yeah, you want me to vote for you? What do you want me to vote? Oh, I have to tell you. Well, yeah, you know.
How do I vote?
And then the proxy says, and these old utility bills you've been asking me to keep for the last 30 years, can I throw them away now? No. Leave them in the attic. I might need them. You see, they came in very useful. So yeah, I'm going to leave them in your lockup.
I told you.
And similarly with Americans, of course. Oh, go on.
You say that though, but you have to keep re-registering. So keep the bills if you got them.
Right. It's as if they don't want you to vote, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So there's voting in the UK. And in the US, of course, similar calls to register yourself. You can vote whilst overseas. The Democrats seem to be quicker on this than the Republicans, as far as I've noticed, or certainly more verbal about it. Make sure. I believe there's also an election coming up in the United States. I
heard something about
that. About that.
It also didn't escape me that the election in Great Britain is on the 4th of July, which is the United States Independence Day from Great Britain. It's like, look at that,
isn't it?
Yes. Well, I don't know whether people will be doing that or not. Anyway, I'll explain. That's a British dimpled beer mug, which some will be raising on the 5th of July, others not, I suspect. Go on, Tig. Carry on with the news, because Garvo, of course, Brits.
I just wanted to say I still don't understand how Trump can be allowed to even think about that when he's just been convicted of 34 felons.
Yeah, apparently
you
can
go and mention it, didn't you? Now I was hoping for a quiet end to the show this morning, and you had to go and say that, Tig. Can we just go back to something safe?
You said you were going to freeze that look on my face. What do you expect?
Okay. Right, it's 1-1. Let's leave it. Right. Yes, it's a funny.
Apparently, you can run for president if you're a criminal, but you can't vote if you are.
Quite right too. I mean, the second bit. Anyway, right.
Apparently, I don't know exactly how it works, but that's what I've been hearing. It's like, can that be true?
Yes. What about redemption? But we've got to move on, and rehabilitation. That's a big question, isn't it? Probably to chuck in there in the mix where we've got other matters to consider this morning.
Yes.
So we know about ETIAS, Tig, which is the new ring of security around. Is it a security matter? It is surveillance and security, really, isn't it? To know who's coming in to the EU area, and a kind of visa for doing so, and obviously a money-making scheme as well. Is EES a part of that?
EES is the exit and entry system that all non-UK nationals are going to have when they try and enter the UK. It's like
so
a
this
visa
is the
to
bit
enter
that affects the UK people of the ETIAS system. Okay, all right.
No.
Oh, go on.
This is non-UK, non-British citizens Okay, so
but the
everybody
opposite.
that isn't British who wants to
Yes.
go to the UK, they
Yeah.
will need from October an EES to get in.
Oh, okay. So the EES is UK's version of ETIAS, then it would be another way of putting it.
Yes, I suppose so. And then ETIAS is next year, which
Yeah.
is where all British citizens who are non-resident in the EU. So if you live in the UK, if that's where you reside and you want to go on holiday in the EU, or you want to come over for whatever reason, you have to get an ETIAS.
Okay. All right. Now,
That's
presumably this is all going really well behind the scenes, and it's all going to be seamless.
Oh, of course it
Yeah,
is.
like usual.
and you know, I mean, it's so seamless that the Portuguese government nearly got, you know, well, they got into real trouble because they hadn't set the system
A memo.
up.
They got a memo, didn't they, from the EU? Garvo was leaning forward as if to add something to this conversation. Garvo, did you have a view on this?
I was just thinking the whole system's got to have some fee somewhere. There's got to be money making
Yes.
the back of it somewhere. There normally is on one side or other.
Oh, it'll cost you. Yeah, the
Right.
ETIAS will cost everybody who wants to come on holiday. I don't ask. For some reason, £6 is in my head, but don't take that because I haven't checked that. But every single person that has to do it, there's a fee, because you can do it online. You'll do it online, but obviously you have to get your credit for it. So your Visa card. Yeah.
All right. So what do we need to know then, Tig, about this?
Well, just basically, of course, when you've got friends coming over to Portugal that are UK nationals, they've got to have it. And, you know, they will be refused. They will not be allowed on that plane without it. So they need it if they want to come over. Our Portuguese friends and any other nationality that want to go to the UK, they have to have an EES. They too will have to. So it's just letting people know that those systems are coming into play. Because, you know, the majority of people, you know, I know I'm a bit of a one-off, don't bother with this stuff. You know, they just sort of like, it's word of mouth. And that's why we do this, isn't it? Is to try and at least let people know what's going on. But the other thing that I wanted to mention whilst I was here, I am aware that a meeting is going to be taking place sometime this week with AIMA or IMA. If people have any problems again with their residency cards that come under the withdrawal agreement, I don't deal with visas. I don't deal with anybody who has residency after 2020. It's everybody before that. If anybody still has any of those issues with getting a card, not having a card, or can't get an appointment, can't change their address, any payment, anything, get in touch with me today. Because after today, I think we'll be out of time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, well, that's useful to know. Yeah. Okay. Gary, sorry, Tig, go on.
Sorry, I have been asking for months and months and months of people to do that.
This is how human beings work, and it'll be the same with the ETIAS and EES, won't it? And I can see the Daily Mail headline already of queues at the airport of people, of chaos on Britain's shores. For one reason or another, and there will be chaos because of ETIAS or EES one way or the other, I suspect. And Pam Smith, morning to you, Pam. I remember years ago you used to get a visa for Turkey. Same when you fly over to Thailand, isn't it? You can get it at the airport, I think, rather than have to go online beforehand. Depending on which country it is, of course. You used to get, and our English exceptionalism has helped us with this in the past, although that does appear to be changing. I remember years ago you used to get a visa for Turkey for about 10 quid. And you just paid when you arrived. What you're saying, it appears, Tig, or what you suspect, is that this needs to be sorted out before getting on that plane. Right? And
why not? Yeah, I mean, how else are you going to do it?
Yeah,
you know, it's their electronic systems.
Yes, yeah. So, well, very interesting because gone are those days, right, where you go to the post office.
People get fingerprinted as well, so you know.
What? Hold on a minute. I was just harking back to the old days where you used to go and get your money from the post office and rock up in Thailand and just pay at the airport. Very different now. Fingerprints as well, you say?
I saw something the other day about that. Yeah. I think people are going to get fingerprints. So then it's in the system, and then you know they know who you are and stuff. But it is what it is. You know.
Yes,
but But if you, because I know I've given you 3 links, and those links are how to do it by air, by land, and also the overall document that people need to read. 2 are leaflets and 1's the fuller document. So
well, you know what? I'm going to do my best to share these after the show in various places.
Okay.
Here's one example of what Tig's talking about this morning. So some particular services are trying to get ahead of this to avoid a crunch and a rush with ETIAS and no doubt EES as well. And I will do my bit to circulate these as appropriate, rather than just flashing before people's eyes on the screen.
And I'd just like to quickly add, as I understand it, the United States is doing the same thing. It's you're not going to be able to just hop on a plane and go and expect that your passport will be enough.
Oh, okay. So that's another pre-trip thing. Okay, go on, Tig.
You've always had that though, haven't you? You've always had to do that. I think it lasts 2 years.
No.
2 or 3.
No, when I first came to Europe in 2015, I just had my passport, got on my plane, and flew over and got off the plane and went where I went.
I thought you meant to the US, because I've had to do it to the US.
Yeah, maybe the other direction, but yeah, that wasn't me. So anyway,
okay.
Seems like everyone's getting on board with this plan.
Yes, yeah.
Make it more difficult to travel.
Gary, don't be so cynical, Garvo. Right. Okay.
No, I believe you, Gary. Yeah, I believe you.
Yes, under the guise of security, of course. There's a bit of a pattern here, isn't there? We're going to make you safer and poorer at the same time.
And
the other thing is that of course people are, and a constant thing that I've been asked, and again, it's always people trying to get around the rules. With you're allowed to spend, as we know, if you're not an EU resident, 90 days out of the previous 180 in the EU, not per country, in the EU. And people are saying, and of course, as EU residents, as residents in Portugal, as Brits, Americans, or whatever, that's 90 days in the whole of the Schengen area outside of Portugal that you can do. But that is not per country. It's per the area. And that's where people get. But people constantly say to me, but how are they going to know? Well, there's a new security system that's just come in. And this security system is to look for people traffickers, drug smugglers, and whatever. And I have been categorically told it will catch overstayers. So go ahead. But, guys, just stick to the law.
But Tig, will it catch the other people you mentioned? This is what seems to be another part of this pattern. Okay, these systems are designed to catch people traffickers, and wrong-uns basically crossing the border. They don't seem to do much of that, but they do find a lot of people who've outstayed their welcome by 2 days and give them a massive fine. Garvo again. The cynicism is off the scale here, but is my suspicion perhaps slightly on the mark there? You don't have to answer that.
It's a reference to Alan Watts. I have to say, he wrote a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity, which is all about the rights that we give up to feel secure.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
it's
full circle.
Isn't it a great way to keep tabs on the population of people and make a few bob at the same way?
Yes, right. There you go. All right, that's beautiful.
And I don't know that we'll ever catch the people who are trying to get away with it, because they figure out ways to get around it. So that's intentional. It's like, you can't catch me because I'm trying not to get caught, and I know how. And the average person is wandering around going, oh, I'm 2 days late to leave. I wonder if that's going to be a problem. Oops, they caught me.
I've had people write to me, speak to me, and I, not one or two, quite a few, who said to me, I know I've overstayed. I actually came, I had one the other day. I came in 2021.
What?
Slightly out of your 90 days.
That's quite a long overstay.
But it's not unusual. I have got these people who and saying, can you help me? No. No.
I think you've got tougher as the years have gone on, haven't you, Tig? There might have been a moment where you said, I'll do my best. And now you just say, nope. It's your own stupid fault.
there's absolutely nothing I can do. And the worst part is they did it knowingly. I haven't had one who hasn't done it knowingly, knowing they could stay for only 90 days and then stayed over and then thought, I'll contact Tig James, see if she can get me out of this.
He's got an MBE. She'll smooth it over. Right. Okay.
She's not a defense attorney.
That's right. Stop.
My client is innocent.
Stop doing that.
Absolutely. The only thing, and I know as well that because a few of them have contacted the embassy and they all get a standard reply, which is, you need a lawyer.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
That's how the embassy responds to it. Wow. Okay.
That's how I know. A few people have said to me that, well, the embassy have told me that I need a lawyer, but can you help me? No, get a lawyer.
Wow. Okay. Well, our answer will be the same. If anyone writes into Good Morning Portugal, see the earlier answers given by the embassy and Tig James. On a lighter note, maybe everybody, I'd love your views, given that in the last week it was announced that almost 1 in 10 people living in Portugal now is a foreigner. Over 1 million. That was the figure that was being reported, perhaps celebrated. I don't know. I'd like a view from each of you on that milestone. We're all foreigners here, and I take it. I'm going to take it for granted. We love being here, mostly. Oh, Capricorn 12, Chris is here. He often comes when you're here, Tig. Brexiters know what. All right, easy now, Chris. Don't get yourself worked up, mate. It's 9:51 on a Monday morning. Take it easy. How you start your day is often how you end your day. Go on, Tig.
I am going to get 2-1 on you now. Here we go. If Trump gets in, we'll have way more than 1 million.
Yeah, well, that's something I've written about this. All right, Tig. Very good. Right. How did you receive that information of 1 million foreigners living here in Portugal? It is a remarkable thing, isn't it? And we should take our hats off to our host, shouldn't we?
I think I mean, the official figure was about 700,000, wasn't it, before that? That in and around 700. And I've always said we've got to have at least 1 million here. Because, you know, people do come in and they do overstay and they don't want to go home and they're with their families here. And I've always said it's got to be about 1 million anyway. So if it's legally, you know, on their records they've got 1 million, it's got to be probably 1.25 million, I would say. That's just me a guesstimate, you know, with no research, but I would say so.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And what do you make of it? You know, from a personal point of view, you know, I marvel at this figure, and I think it's a very brave thing that's going on in this country. You know, that we are talking about a massive integration of people, and I've always maintained that this should be done mindfully, if you like, James, thoughtfully, rather than just, well, let's hope it's going to be fine. I mean, as somebody at the cutting edge of such matters, what do you make of that? This scale?
I think the scale is huge, isn't it? When you think 1/10 of the population are indigenous. But I mean, even on that score, you know, I mean, one of the reasons I know people come is because Portugal make it easy in comparison to other countries. That's one of the reasons. Yes. And I mean, in getting citizenship is easy in comparison to other. I'm not saying it is easy to get. I'm saying it's easier than most other countries, and getting visas and residencies, they're not difficult in comparison either. I mean, citizenship is also cheaper. It's only €250, whereas you've got, I mean, the UK, it's thousands.
Yes, quite.
You know, so all of these things attract foreigners because if it's easier, why would you make it harder? Unless you've got specific reasons or people that you want to see. I've always said, and this will probably go down awfully, but I think they make it too easy.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's go to Gavo, who clearly wants to say, what do you make of this big figure and the lovely warm reception we have received here, Gavo?
Well, it isn't interesting, right? I've been a 1 in 10 before back in Britain for a totally different, you know, reason.
Yeah.
Being remember, it's more than 1 in 10 being unemployed.
Yes, UB40. Yes, notably recorded by UB40. Yes,
and coming here and being a 1 in 10 for the other end of the scale is kind of balances life out, really, doesn't it?
Yes,
it's took 60 years, but yes, I'm delighted to be here in Portugal. I love the hospitality of the Portuguese people, and I try to give back whatever I can, whenever I can, in one way or another. So, yeah. Good for me.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree. What about you, James? What do you make of this news?
Well, my first thought when I heard it is that's a huge number of people. The
Yes.
10% of an entire population.
Oh yeah.
That's, in the U.S. that's what 34 million people is 10% of the population. 10% is huge. And then the kind of humorous part of me that thinks about the Portuguese government and how they manage things. I've said with my Portuguese housemates, I say, I've noticed that the government tends to blow things up and then figure it out afterward, like Seth, just blow it up and then we'll work it out. Yes. And I know that they're struggling with the whole immigration thing, and that's part of their challenge with remaining in the Schengen or in the European Union, is satisfying immigration regulations, all that kind of stuff. So it's a huge, not just in numbers of people, and what do you do with that, and the pushback you get usually from extreme sides about that, but also how do you manage it bureaucratically? How do you administrate that with that many numbers? You're already struggling with what you've got, and it's ever increasing. So in part of what Tig said, thinking they're making it too easy. I don't want to take up a side on that one way or the other, but they certainly make it more difficult for the government agencies to keep up when they can attract people and allow them to continue coming in. So how are they going to regulate that?
I think, and I mean, when you think IMA isn't coping anyway.
Yeah, right.
And there's only two ways that they can, rectify that, isn't it? Is by actually having more staff or cutting down on people and, specifically target people that they require for employment in specific employment areas. But, until IMA is staffed correctly, how is this ever going to improve? I don't know.
Yes. Quite. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. And I think we're all playing an active part in this. We're watching it, aren't we? Go on, Garvo.
I have a question. I wonder how many of the people that used to work for CEF now work for IMA, because part of the problem was an institutional mentality with a lot of people in, positions of authority and power. So I wonder how much that has gone over, where it's like just the same story, but different name.
It can happen, can't it? A rebrand, but actually nothing happens institutionally. We'll see, won't we?
And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, along with Gary loving being here, I'm happy I got here when I did.
Yes.
Me too.
For me personally, I don't need to deal with this so much, but I still understand the complications.
Yes. I think going back to what you said, Garvo, I mean, with CEF morphing into IMA, I mean, it was split into 5 different agencies, wasn't it? So, people have been put in different places, but there's I read in the paper the other day, so goodness knows if it's true or not. It was something like 41% of IMA staff want to quit or have requested to move on. So,
however, but 60% wanted to quit before they changed. So maybe it's got better. We just don't know, do we?
If you're completely overworked, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Getting essentially nothing but complaints, like constantly. That's your job, is dealing with people who are unhappy.
ETA.
Demoralizing. Okay, we need to wrap up because I'm going to play some video of why we love the Portuguese culture so much, and it involves a lot of accordions. So for anybody who suffers from accordionitis or something like that, you may not
accordion trauma.
Accordion-based trauma. You may not want to watch the end of the show, but there's a lot of it coming up. And thanks to Philomena, thanks to Bob for your pictures. I'll say goodbye to you lovely people on the screen here now. Pam's saying I think a lot of CEF IMA staff have left. More than half, says Veronica, of the new residents are Brazilian and other Portuguese-speaking people, and also the IMA staff want to quit. And Chris is here. And like I say, he comes when you're here, Tig. How about singing a little bit more often, Chris? Tig, when are you going to do an ATA with Carl? Ask Tig anything. I'm always open to that. I think we did do something extraordinary before, didn't we? And should the occasion call for it, I'm open to that, Tig, and you can let me know if you want to do that. I won't put you on the spot right here with that. But I shall see you next month, Tig. I shall see you, James, next week. And Garvo, I shall see you tonight. How lovely. Thank you for your contributions this morning. And we'll see you all soon. And enjoy this from the event I went to at the weekend. That was the menu. And later on, I had a different establishment had a beautiful dimpled mug of British IPA. Not until I'd heard some wonderful accordion music in the beautiful village of Val here on the Silver Coast. And here are the wonderful band. I think they are the Concertinos de Obidos. Have a great day, everybody. We shall see you soon. Whoops. So, sorry about that. Let me just play that again.